That's my hair.
Looks good. We're live recording.
All good. All right.
Convening the April 2nd governance committee meeting. First item up is review and approval of the November 6th meeting minutes. You guys had a chance to look that over and don't have any comments, changes, suggestions? Can I get a motion to move to approve the minutes?
Motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
The next piece of this, do we need to go into executive session to discuss this, or should we, this is fine?
The beginning of it is the memos is public as is the charter red lines,
Yeah.
so I can at least introduce it. So what we're introducing here today for discussion is for the governance committee to review a potential modification to the charter and to the corporation's bylaws that would allow the governance committee to assume the roles and responsibilities of the membership committee. As you guys know, membership committee is down to one member. That's our esteemed Dave Prenti at this point. We'd like, one of the committees to potentially take on those roles, and staff is recommending governance.
Yeah, it's just a question of if we want membership into governance or we keep it separate. That's really the point.
Could we move it into finance?
We certainly can. I don't think there's a hard fast where it needs to be.
I don't know enough about what membership used to do, but it seems to me it's about generating revenue for the organization that feels like finance is the place to do
I
that.
think over time, it's become a lot less significant of the.
Correct, given that.
Yes, for a lot of reasons. Thankfully, we've had other sources of revenue, which have ended up not minimizing, but it's lessened the import or the percentage that membership contributes towards the overall revenue piece. So, membership also is about services and what you can provide to the members and stuff like that. And, how do you engage and retain and attract members? But you're right, a lot of it is finance and, why people want to be a part of this.
In the point of how to engage members and stuff, I know Dave has suggestions, but without an actual committee to talk with and brainstorm and come up with those concepts, it's not the most productive that it could be for those conversations to be able to bounce ideas off. So I think we've looked at tiers before of changing them. I think we've increased them in the past, and we've looked at a tiered structure that's more like a CPG model or others where there are a lot bigger buckets, but that's something that would require more in-depth conversation.
I'm on either committee, so it doesn't really matter to me, but.
Right.
Right.
And I could easily take this and put it into another charter. That's not hard. Yeah, I guess the opening point is just, do we want to do this? And it was, put some teeth into the membership thing. How do we get that, put some oomph behind it?
I think it makes sense to do it. I just, questioning which committee it belongs under.
I could see it under either. I think the financial part makes sense because Andy Begain tagged into it with, logging all of the investor registrations and keeping track of where we're at in terms of what we budgeted and what we received each year. So, I could see that angle too. I think I was thinking initially governance, maybe other than, the annual metrics review and the policy review. I thought maybe it has sometimes less cadence, so that it might mean that this committee meets 3 times a year or whatever, whereas finance committee already has a greater cadence. But I think that was primarily the factor, was does governance committee only go up to 3 meetings a year versus finance goes up to 8 or 9 or whatever.
If you're gonna do more, we decide that it needs to be in a place that's active.
Mhm.
I don't know.
if there's multiple
So I can
meetings.
see that point you just made, sure. And if we wanna do more of it, we're gonna need to.
this committee's gonna have to meet more often, I guess is really what I'm saying.
Whichever, yeah.
Yeah.
Finance would probably stay the same and we would just kind of roll it into the existing meetings and hope they're not.
That being said, finance usually has a lot on
It's play.
its
Yes,
plate, so
Right.
those meetings get
That's-
longer.
That was one of the things I think we thought maybe this was the.
They can with wise.
So, we're really just discussing putting the membership committee into governance, or putting committee into the finance committee.
By governance. Seems like there's more space in there, it seems like it's more aligned. Seems like the agenda's more aligned. But I don't know.
John raised the point that, and it's good, I mean, you know, in the past, less so maybe in more recent years, this has been a source of revenue for us, so it's it's often finance is a piece of it, that has become less piece of our revenue as, you know, the years have progressed, yeah.
I think I don't think it's any kind of substantive correlation. And governance and membership seem to be aligned. I'll do whatever.
Okay. I don't have a strong feeling either way.
as you pointed
Okay.
out, it's mostly the same numbers one way or the other. I think the trade-off is Dave's in governance and
I think
Richard's
it
in
belongs,
finance.
it deserves a robust involvement from more than just one
Yeah.
committee member, so I'm comfortable either way. What you guys said. I don't think it'll be fun.
Okay, let's talk about Chris's interest in committees.
We have
Not yet.
So these would go to the board ultimately, with changes.
Yeah.
And then the bylaws. Yeah, the thing I do want to focus on, the bylaws right now, we have 5 standing committees. Supposedly. One's the executive committee, which really has been dormant for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't, we can all, you know, these bylaws are changeable by the board at any moment. I don't know if it's worthwhile having a committee that never meets in our bylaws. It kind of leads to, well, what are you doing? Are you ignoring?
I think it's more of a safety valve.
Yeah,
Because I think the executive committee has the whole kind of authoritative powers of the board. So when you have immediacy of actions that have to occur. I think you can convene that group a little easier and.
I think we certainly used to do it that way. I think since we've become under this public authority world,
Yeah,
it really, we don't have the same flexibility that we've always had with respect to just having. You know, if the board needs to take action, I'm not certain that the executive committee could fully envelop the board.
you don't think they're
government.
empowered in that regard and.
Not like it probably had been in the past. I think.
It's not relevant, it's not relevant. I'm speaking more from my own governance models of different organizations.
Right, right.
Yeah. And then the other question staff had, I think Maria raised this, I don't know if she raised this with you previously, Tom, was Liberty Park, since it's the ad hoc committee, does that not need to be included in the bylaws? Or should we state that in the actual bylaws and say that it's 4 committees and include the Liberty Park if we're making the edit?
But yeah, let's add something in that just discusses ad hoc. And I'll add in a sentence that ad hoc committees can be formed in the direction of the board.
Okay.
And I'll add that in.
Awesome.
And then going back to the governance committee, you know, one activity that we've been involved in for a number of years now is making recommendations with respect to the reasonableness of compensation annually.
Yes.
should we update the?
Sure.
The charter to reflect that? That one aspect of what we do is to.
I thought it was in there, but maybe I missed it.
I think it was right.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where did I just see?
That's a good idea. Throw it in there.
I think we have something, and maybe we could expand it. See page 10 of 25 at the,
Yes, it is.
I made a few changes, maybe we could make more, but.
It's this thing more than that.
No. I
So we
was
have
gonna,
a reasonableness test for the president, right? But we have, are we engaged in that same test for the officers, or is that deferred to the president?
Officers.
We, you know, and I referred it to the policy, because the policy lays it out in more detail, but we
Okay.
do review the reasonableness, we don't set. But we do review the reasonableness of all officers.
Okay. So the Constitution review.
And I think you said guide bars, right? There was a maximum, I think.
Yeah, and we do
sometimes
that in
there's
accordance
guidelines
with our
sometimes for
policy.
me,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Change, I just looking at our purpose and values, I mean,
It wasn't listed up front.
Yeah,
the-
but I-
with the purpose and
I think as
power.
long as it's in here, we're good.
Yeah, this is an ABL form, so it's not always the easiest and, but it's in, yeah.
And good suggestion, because if we're gonna make that, if we're gonna amend the charter, I guess it's, might as well catch anything that we need to update to current day, if there's anything we've missed.
So we're gonna recommend to the board that we make changes to the committee charter. And to the bylaws, and you're gonna add in something about ad hoc committees
Yes, sir, right.
in the bylaws, great. Anyone have any, you need a motion?
I think you just do a motion second to recommend it to the board and we'll report that.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll say.
All in favor? Anders?
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
All right, great. And then for the bylaw change, I remember when we changed the bylaws last time, it had to go to the member vote. Does that have to go at the end of the year?
It does if we change like the directors, things that deal
okay.
with their rights, the member rights.
Okay,
On this, I don't think we will need to.
okay,
Because it's only in the director purview. We're not changing the rights of the members.
Okay.
So on this one, we would make the change and then that would be it. It would just be amended at that point.
okay. Oh, yeah, that one was the number of
I think it
directors
was the number of
change, yeah,
directors,
because we were
which they
changing
have
the
the right
composition of the
to
board.
elect. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Do we have any
that's
other business?
Not for today, that's all.
And any reason to go into executive session?
No.
Is it a motion to adjourn?
The move.
All right,
Thank you.
Serious.
yes.
It's like the first second.
Yes, everybody's.
Unanimous.
Unanimous.
It is. I think there